Hey, what's up guys? So today I'm gonna make Perdu, or more commonly known as French toast. So basically what Perdu means, it's called lost bread. It's the French name for French toast. And why is it called lost bread? It's called lost bread because French toast is supposed to be made with stale bread. And it's a way of making sure you don't waste any bread. So you soak the bread in like an egg and cream mixture. So bread soaks that moisture up, becomes soft, and you toast it. Lost means it's lost all its freshness. So that's why you're supposed to make French toast with stale bread. I've personally never done that before. What I do is I take fresh bread. I want to eat French toast, so I stick it in the oven, dehydrate the bread to mimic that staleness of the bread. But today I happen to have some stale bread. It's like rock hard. So I'm just gonna make French toast out of that. What type of bread, you may ask? I'm using sourdough because I had sourdough stale bread, but you can make it with brioche, challah would be good. You can make it with white bread, I guess would be fine, but if you don't have stale bread, you could just put it in the oven. I'm gonna cut a pretty thick slice of bread for my French toast. So it's gonna be like, and use a bread knife if you have really stale bread. You can see how stale it is. It's like, doesn't want to cut either. I'll try to cut it just. This is gonna be my dinner, actually. Okay. About yay thick. I'm gonna put this other bread to the side here. Okay, so that's our bread cut. Now we just gotta make the custard, where we're gonna dip the bread in. So I got one egg. I'm gonna crack it with one hand. So you smack it down, hold it like this, and then crack. And then drop this side. And I'm gonna take some half and half. If you don't have half and half, you could do milk, you could do cream, you could do half milk, half cream. I like the half and half. How much half and half? I don't know, about this much. Measure with your heart, take something there. All right, so just whisk these two together. Maybe a touch more, half and half. This seems a little eggy. Yeah, that should be good. Now in this, we need to add some sugar for the browning. Just a spoonful. It shouldn't be too sweet. You could put maple syrup on it later to make it sweeter. And then we have this thing. It's vanilla bean paste, actually. So the vanilla bean paste is fresh vanilla that is, so you could see like specks of vanilla in there. So I'm gonna add that to here. If you don't have vanilla bean paste, you could just use vanilla extract, that's fine too. And another thing, I'm gonna add some allspice because I really like allspice in there. Just a little touch. And also a dash of cinnamon, just because very classic and delicious. So mix that all together. And the shape of this vessel that I'm mixing everything in is also very important, because you see how the bread just perfectly fits into that. So you want to do this in something shallow so you could really dip the bread in there. So that is all whisked up. Oh, also, just a little touch of salt. Not to make it salty, just to make the sweet ingredients pop out a little bit more. Okay, that is good. Now we're gonna take the bread and dip it in there. So if you have fresh bread and you dip it in, it just kind of like disintegrates. But I'm gonna dip this in there for like 2 to 3 minutes so the bread really soaks in all the liquid. All right, so my bread is done soaking. So how you can tell if your bread is done soaking is if you take your bread and you can just feel it, touch it a little bit. It should feel like it's completely hydrated through, but not like soggy. So this piece of bread was actually really stale. It was not moldy. You shouldn't cook with moldy bread. Just PSA. It's not like you could take off the mold from one side of the bread, it would be fine. Stale bread is okay to eat. That just means the moisture in the bread is like gone and it's not like soft anymore. That usually happens with fresh bread. Like if you bake it at home, if you buy it from the store, most likely it will go stale in like a week or so. If it's home baked, if it's fresh from the farmer's market, it'll go stale in like 3 or 4 days max. So this was like 5 days old. But you should see, like, I can feel that it's hydrated, but it's not soggy. It's not falling apart. I can still hold it like this and be fine, you know? But I could feel on the inside it's well soaked through. This took like 20 minutes, but like if you're doing it with a piece of bread, like you dehydrate it, it should take no more than like 2-3 minutes max. But use your senses. That's what cooking is. Don't rely on like time or whatever. See how it is. I can feel that this is good, so I'm gonna put it in a pan. I'll be back. Alright, so this is my carbon steel de Bouillé pan, and it's on a pretty low heat. You could tell it's on a low heat because see, the butter just barely sizzles. You don't want it to be any hotter than this, alright? This is actually pushing it a little bit too. It should just barely bubble. So you want to butter up your pan well. So I'm gonna take my piece of bread that's been soaking and just lay it in there. Now, so why should your pan be on a low heat? Because the thicker what you're cooking is, the lower the heat should be. So think about it intuitively. If you want to cook a steak to well done, you want your pan to be on a low heat because the outside browning should happen at the same time the inside is cooked. So if it's on low heat, it will brown slowly, but the heat will have more time to travel through the steak and cook it to well done. If you want to cook a steak to medium rare, you want your heat to be really high so you could get that sear in before it cooks all the way through. For this thing, my piece of bread is quite thick, right? And it has moisture, egg, that's all the way in the middle of the bread. Now, as the heat is low, it has more time to go here, cook this part, and then when I flip it, it'll have time to go here, cook this part, and the outside's not gonna burn, especially since it has sugar in it too. Sugar burns really quick. And egg cooks at starts to coagulate at about 140, cooks all the way through at about 160 degrees Fahrenheit. But if you keep it on low heat, 2 to 3 minutes each side, flip it, I think you should be fine. You could tell by touching it, it's gonna be a little bit firmer than it was before. And yeah, don't go on timing too much. That's what cooking is. You touch it, you feel it, you get a sensation of when it's cooked, when it's not. If you just rely on time, you're just like a machine doing tasks. You're not really cooking. So basically, I kind of just peeked under the bread. So when I peek, I see it's nicely browned, so I'm just going to flip it with my hands. You could use a spatula or whatever, but my hands are fine. So we're just gonna let it cook on this side for a little bit until it's cooked all the way through. And if you feel that it's browning too fast and not cooking all the way through, once it's browned on both sides, you could just smack it in the oven and it should be fine. But I think I'll be able to get it just right on the stove here. Alright, so while that's cooking on the other side, I'm just really quickly gonna make some whipped cream. For that, I have some heavy cream here. I'm gonna just put a little bit of it in this bowl and then add some sugar. Just a touch, not too much. I don't want it to be too sweet. And a little bit of that vanilla bean paste that we had earlier. That goes into the whipped cream. And then you could use a hand blender, but I'm just gonna use a whisk because I'm pretty old-fashioned. And make sure to use cold cream when you're making whipped cream. It'll make the process faster. And the best way, I think, is just to go side to side. And then don't use your whole force on it, because then you'll get tired sooner. You could just flick the wrist back and forth and you'll get whipped cream eventually. So it's gonna take like a minute or so just whisking. It shouldn't be too bad. But yeah, I'll be back once I'm done whipping this cream. Okay, so now I have the whipped cream, so it's completely whipped. You could put it over your head, it won't fall. See? like it doesn't fall from the bowl. Oh, that's kind of cool. All right, but yeah, make sure you don't go too far with it, or else you'll over whip the cream, which is entirely possible, and it will just be very lumpy, grainy, not smooth at all. So let me check on my bread and let's play after that. All right, hey, so I got my whipped cream, some berries that I just defrosted, and I got my French toast. So the French toast is done cooking. I'll just lay it down here. And on top of that, I'll just put a dollop of this beautiful whipped cream, and it will start immediately melting as it goes on there. And these berries that I kind of defrosted, they were just frozen, just for as a garnish on top of the thing. Oh, this is so beautiful. Wow, okay. And this is the final dish. It's just a French toast, whipped cream, some berries, and it's a perfect midnight snack. Okay, I'm gonna take a bite out of this, tell you how it is. That's so good. That's so good. The bread is like perfectly cooked. It's moist on the inside. It's not oversaturated. It's not undersaturated. It's soft and tender. It just disintegrates in your mouth. The berries add like this acidity and flavor. The cinnamon really sparks through, and the whipped cream is such a nice complement to the entire thing. And the crust of the bread gives this dark, like roasty flavor. You guys should definitely make this. So easy. It came together in like 5 minutes. Alright, that's how to make French toast. Thanks for watching.